Okay, I wanted to give you a few examples to help you distinguish between the 5 congruent shortcuts that we established for proving triangles congruent and the other non-congruent cases. We had 2 of those that you wrote down in your notes. So how do we know which is which, and what do we do if we don't even have enough information marked in our picture? Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is I'm just observing what's marked in my picture, and I'm noticing in this picture I have a pair of angles marked as right angles. We know all right angles are congruent, so essentially I have a pair of congruent angles. I'm just putting an A to mark them, already marked with right angles. Now I've got a pair of arc marks there indicating I have a second pair of angles congruent. So in either of those 2 triangles, I have 2 things that are congruent to parts in the other triangle. But if you recall from your shortcuts list, all of them had 3 letters except for HL, and really there's 3 things you need to know to prove triangles congruent by HL. So let's kind of not worry about that one right now. We're looking for 3 letters. I only have 2. So now we got to look at our picture. We can't, of course, make things up, but we can sometimes know things are true just by looking at a picture. So think back to Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. We worked a lot with vertical angles we know are congruent. We worked a lot with supplementary. When angles form a linear pair, we know they're supplementary. And in this case, I'm looking for congruence, and this is a little bit different. You haven't seen this one before. What happens here is we have a shared side in the middle that we can say is congruent between the 2 triangles. Just to clarify, if I go ahead and highlight the top triangle in green, and then let's say I highlight the bottom triangle, I'm going to use purple here. And if I go ahead and pull those 2 triangles apart, can you agree with me that they were sharing that one side? It was the exact same side. Now I'm just separating them. And sometimes that just helps to see them separate from each other. If you want to redraw them, that's fine. Okay, so I do essentially have a congruent side pair. I'm putting an S there. So we should be narrowing it down to either angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. And I'm just looking at my 2 shortcuts that have 2 angles and 1 S, 2 A's and 1 S. Those are the only 2 options. Either the side is included between the 2 angles or it's not included. So now I'm asking myself, is the side the included one? Okay, and you can kind of, there's a couple ways to do this. Some people like to read around their picture. For instance, if I start up here and I go ahead and read the A, the next thing I come to is A, and then S if you're going around your triangle. So that gives me angle, angle, side. The other way to think of it, because sometimes it's hard to know which direction to go and where to start, I like to think of it, I always like to look for the included side. So personally, I would look at my picture and say, okay, I'm looking at this top triangle that's green, and I'm going to be looking at my 2 angles that are congruent, and I'm just looking at the side between them, and the side between them is the one that I just highlighted in yellow. Is that the one with the tick mark? And the answer is no. If it was angle, side, angle, it would have to be angle, side, angle right in a row there. Okay, and essentially my S would have to be, my tick mark would have to be right there, which it's not. Okay, so this one we're going to say no to angle, side, angle, yes to angle, angle, side. And that's sort of how I walk through these. Okay, it's not going to take you that long every single time. I'm just showing you and kind of walking you through it in detail so you can see what I'm thinking. Let's try a second one. So I'm looking at the 2 over there, the 2 triangles, and I'm going to start by just observing what I've got. So maybe if you like to put S's, just to kind of think, okay, I've got a side pair congruent there. That's what we should be thinking when we see tick marks. I've got an angle pair congruent here, and then we should be recognizing that we have a shared side in the middle, and of course a tick mark can show that. So for either one of those 2 triangles, I have 2 sides and an angle pair. So I've either got SAS with my angle included between the sides, or I've got my ASS case, which we know causes some problems. We'll have to work that one out if we get that. Okay. Now again, just a suggestion is redraw the triangles if you're having trouble seeing them, because you're essentially, to figure out the order, you're only looking at one of the triangles after you've identified the congruent pairs. So I'm going to look at the bottom triangle there. I'm going to highlight in green, and the top triangle in purple. Okay, maybe this will help you see it. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Let's see if I can grab the two triangles. That's what I wanted to do. I'm going to go ahead and mark them. Okay, try to give myself as much room as I can here. And if I mark them, on the bottom triangle I had this side congruent to that one. I've got this middle side was the shared side, and then the angle pairs were down here. Okay, of course I can put my letters there, and if I read around the bottom one, I'm getting side, angle, side. If I just read right around that, starting with my side and reading side, angle, side. Okay, so that one, whoops. Let's pull that down here. It's looking like I've got side, angle, side for the bottom one. Now if I go up to the top one, I've got a side pair congruent, I've got a side pair congruent, and an angle pair congruent. But this time, if you look real close at that, you should be able to see that the angle is not the included angle. Look at where your two sides meet. So if I highlight my two sides, there's one, there's the other, my two congruent sides, they meet down here. Is that my congruent angle? That is not the angle that's marked congruent. So that is my ASS case, or SSA, depending on which way you read it. And therefore, we have a unique situation here where we have two different shortcuts for the two triangles. Okay? Simple answer here, neither one works. If they don't match in terms of the shortcut, I said you have to look at one triangle to determine the shortcut, but you really have to check both. If they don't match, your answer is they're not congruent because they have to match each other. Okay, I know that was a lot of work to get there, but something that you'll start to look for, not congruent. Next two, pretty simple, so maybe you can take a look at 3, 4, 5, try those. I'm going to talk through these pretty quick. Okay, number 3, all I'm doing is adding one tick mark here for that shared side, and we do have two pairs of sides and one pair of angles. That's one side, that's the other side. I can safely say that that angle is a 90-degree angle because I know that I have to have 180 degrees there. And then I've got my angle pair there. So it's just a question of, is it side, angle, side, or angle, side, side? Is the angle between the sides the included angle? And if I look at this and highlight my congruent sides for one of my triangles, that angle where they come together is my congruent angle. That's my right angle. If I do the other triangle, same thing, that's my congruent angle. So I am getting, in this case, side, angle, side, no ASS here. Number 4, if you tried this one, you should have a congruent vertical angle, but also a right angle. Okay? And looking, count up your angles, count up your sides. I'm getting two angles and one side. So I'm looking at this or that. Either option when I've got two angles and one side. If this helps you to kind of put letters by it. And that's my side pair. And walk around your triangle. Try to read it to yourself. Okay. Look at the two and try to connect and see if we have an included side. So if I'm looking between my two angles, that would be my included side. Is that the one with the tick mark? Nope. Absolutely not. So I'm getting angle, angle, side for my answer there. 5's your easiest one on here. One pair of sides congruent. You're getting used to seeing that now. They share a side, okay? We could separate the triangles. I'm not going to take the time to do it right now. And you have to agree with me that the only option here is we have 3 pairs of sides congruent, side, side, side. Don't even have to look at the angles. And in fact, we don't know anything about the angles there. 6 and 7 are good ones to look at in terms of the differences here. So let's take a careful look at 6 and 7. You'll see some similarities. Okay, I talked at the very beginning. You can look for vertical angles. Okay, so in both of these we can mark vertical angles, giving us 2 pairs of angles and 1 pair of sides congruent. So again, we've got 2 options when we've got 2 pairs of angles and 1 pair of sides. It could be angle, side, angle. And it could be angle, angle, side. 2 pairs of angles congruent, 1 pair of sides. Look to see which one of those is angle, side, angle, and one is angle, angle, side. See if you can decide for yourself which one has the included side pair congruent. And the correct answer, apparently mine are sticking together, is angle, angle, side for number 6, and angle, side, angle for number 7. Good job if you were able to figure that out. If not, my explanation is I take my two angle pairs congruent and I highlight between those. That's the congruent side right there. And in that case, in the case of 7, it is the one with the tick marks on it, giving me that S in the middle. Okay, versus on my other picture, between the two angles, congruent, that side is not the one marked congruent. Therefore, the side is just touching one of those angles, giving me that side at the end. Don't be confused by something like 8 in number 8. Okay, I'm counting them up, and I've got 1A and I've got 1S. There's my angle pair congruent. There's my side pair congruent. Do you have anything else you know? We need 3 congruent statements. So I'm looking for vertical angles. Nope, don't see them. I'm looking for a shared side. Are they touching each other? Nope. Those are the only 2 things I told you you're allowed to assume. Okay, unless we have a supplementary angle pair making a straight line. So therefore, you're stuck at 2 letters. You don't have a third congruent statement. Sometimes that happens. Conclusion. Hopefully you're thinking not congruent and you're done. Okay, don't get stressed out if that's your answer. So that takes us through number 8, 1 through 8. Hopefully that helped you out. Keep following along. I'm going to do a quick explanation of HL and how that's different than the other one. I'm going to do it in a separate video. I'm also going to tackle number 23 on the back side. So if you're confused, go ahead and watch my next video. I just don't want to make them too long, so I'm going to stop this one right here.